task is to colorize this photo. Okay? Now you can choose a totally different black and white photo, and that's okay. This one has a lot of detail in it, so like if you really want to get a great mark on it, do one with detail. Okay? But if you find another black and white photo, if you have one from your family, totally okay to do that. Okay, so it starts off with this photo. I'm gonna go delete layer. Okay, delete. I was just playing around, so there we go. So this photo is partly colored, but I want to recolor it. You can have like a strictly black and white photo and color it too. So I'm going to be working with layers of this photo, and I'm going to pick parts to color. So if I go duplicate, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and color the scarf, or is that a shawl? I'll call it shawl. Okay, so there's a couple ways to do that. One, this one is probably a little easier, and it won't work in all instances, but I can go to hue and saturation. I'm going to choose the other one, hue, and I can play with it until the shawl gets to a point that I like it, right? So I can change the saturation so that the color comes on the whole photo, but I'm only looking at the shawl, okay? So if I hit OK, you notice that the bottom one is still there, right? And what I'm going to do is add a mask layer. A mask layer is kind of like erasing, okay? So if I were to say, okay, the shawl is the color that I like, I could just erase everything but I have to add a, notice if I erase, I don't go see through. That's weird, eh? Notice I'm erasing and I don't see through to the bottom layer. Does anyone know why? Excuse me?
Are you erasing both?
No, not erasing both. It's because this layer, for some reason, doesn't have an alpha channel. An alpha channel is a see-through channel. Can I see through this layer? Almost always you want to see through layers. The whole point of having layers is so you can see through them. So now when I erase, I can say, okay, well, I'm just trying to do the shawl, right? Now, the eraser works, but the problem is I can't add back with an eraser. So if I go in too much and then I want to add back, I can't do that, okay? So, but you see that if I were to just erase, then I could have a layer just for the shawl. I'm going to lower the size a little bit and say I'll do the face later, and maybe I might do both faces because both faces will have the same sort of tinge to it. Okay? And you'll see that I've quickly colorized the shawl. Right? Now there's a better way to do it. I'm going to show you the better way. Okay? So I'm going to undo. Okay? Again, I'm going to try and cover the shawl here. And what I can do is I can pick colors from another photo, right? So let's say I go online and I find another photo, and let's say I like this. Okay, like I type in Google Italian scarf or vintage Italian scarf, so the colors that make sense. Well, I can open up my palette editor up here, and I can say with this pencil, or no, with this plus, create a new palette. So I'm going to create a new palette, and it gives it a name. It's blank. There's nothing in it. I'm going to call it Pink Shawl. Right? And then what I can do is with the dropper, I can select colors. So I like this pink, and I hit create a new entry. And then I like this pink, and I hit create a new entry. And I hit the darker pink, and I hit create a new entry. And I hit this orange over here, and I create a new entry. So I've got 4 colors. Okay, and they have to be in order from darkest to lightest. So I'll take the dark one and move it over here. Actually, didn't move. Come on. I'll find out why it didn't move later. Why is it not moving? It's got to be something. Zoom out, zoom in. That's funny. I was just moving them. Okay. So now what I'll do is now I have that color palette. It's called Pink Shawl. I can go back to my photo and make sure that I'm in the shawl layer. Okay. And I can say color. Palette mapping. Where is it? Tone mapping, no map, palette map. Okay? And it will take all the photo and apply these colors to it, these 4 colors that I selected. Palette map. And it totally ruins the photo. But again, I can now erase the parts other than the shawl. Again, I can erase, but I'm going to show you one other thing. So I'm teaching you a couple things. One is color mapping. Again, I'd have to add the alpha layer to see that, add alpha channel. So I can erase, and that's fine. But a better way when you're dealing with photos is to never erase, and it's instead to use a mask. And I'll show you this. So I can say, instead of erasing, add layer mask. Okay? And what a layer mask does, I'm going to hit, is it says, you see how there's two, you see how there's a pink here and a black? The black is what's erased. And so I can then say white is what's not erased. And I could click on the mask and say, don't erase this. Right? And the reason, why is this better than erasing? The reason why this is better than erasing is then I can start painting white and unerase. Okay, with the eraser tool, there's no unerase, right? And I just switch from black erases, white unerases. So if you really want to do it good, you might go over a little bit with an eraser, and then you can't really undo, or like 8 steps later you want to undo. With a mask, you always can. So I'm going to go in and scroll in a little bit, bring my thing in, and I'm going to restore the face. I think there's a, there we are, right? And if I go over, I'm always able to switch it, right? I know something was wrong with my palette, that it went from darkest to white to dark. You probably won't have that problem, or I'll figure it out after I'm done recording. But that's the idea. And sometimes you select the wrong colors. Actually, what's really cool about this, instead of using the hue saturation trick, actually both work, is I can change the color palette. So I've tried it a few times, and maybe I want it to be a red shawl, and now I can go colors, map, palette map, and it'll change. Oh, I have to do it in the actual layer, not the mask layer, but the actual layer. I'll do it again. Color, map, palette map. Okay, and then maybe that'll be a red. Okay, now that was me showing you how to do it for the shawl, but to do a photo, you're going to have to do about 8 layers. So I might, but some of the, actually, that might be a little bit deceptive, because you would imagine, you know, the face is, both faces and hands are one layer. Background is another layer. The clothes might be separate. And so I would duplicate this again, bring it on top, and I might say, okay, I'm going to do this man's suit, and do that. Now, I've done that for this photo, and that's, so you see I did a dark red for the shawl. I did the same. I wanted to do the same for the tie, but you don't have to. And I tried to do it. It's not quite complete. I'd say give myself a level 4, maybe not a level 4 plus because of the little edges. But that's the idea. On the web page, there is another video of someone showing you how to do this. And that's the assignment.